This is the story of Ashoka, the Mauryan emperor who turned from war and bloodshed to peace, justice, and Dharma. In 273 BCE, after the death of Bindusara, Ashoka ascended the throne of the Maurya Empire. It was one of the largest empires of the ancient world. Ashoka quickly emerged as a strong and determined ruler. In the royal court, his authority was absolute. As a young prince, Ashoka trained as a warrior, mastering horseback riding and swordsmanship. After becoming king, Ashoka's first goal was to expand and secure his empire, often planning campaigns with his generals. The Maurya Empire expanded rapidly under Ashoka, covering much of South Asia. Pataliputra, the capital, thrived as a center of trade, culture, and politics. Early in his reign, Ashoka was feared as a strict and ruthless ruler. He maintained a massive army with thousands of soldiers and war elephants. Ashoka personally led his forces, known for his sharp military strategy. His victories earned him a reputation as an unstoppable ruler. Advisors warned him that the kingdom of Kalinga remained independent and strong. Ashoka decided to conquer Kalinga, declaring it must become part of the Maurya Empire. With a massive army, Ashoka marched toward Kalinga. Kalinga warriors preparing, defending walls, with bows and spears. The people of Kalinga prepared to resist with courage and strong defenses. A brutal battle began, with swords clashing and blood flowing. Villages burned, fields were destroyed, and smoke filled the sky. Hundreds of thousands perished, leaving the land covered with bodies. Prisoners were chained, while women and children wept in despair. Ashoka witnessed the devastation with his own eyes and was shaken. He realized that this victory was, in truth, a terrible loss. Seeing the wounded soldiers, Ashoka's heart grew heavy. Ashoka observing civilians suffering, famine and sorrow. He saw the suffering of innocent civilians. Ashoka sitting in meditation posture, reflecting deeply. Ashoka meeting Buddhist monks under tree. He met Buddhist monks and listened to their teachings. Ashoka renounced violence and embraced non-violence. He embraced Buddhism and chose the path of peace. He now considered serving his people his greatest duty. Hospitals were built, and the sick were cared for. He built wells and roads to make life easier for his people. Ashoka sent envoys to spread the message of peace abroad. His son Mahinda carried Buddhism to Sri Lanka. His daughter Sanghamitra also spread Buddhism in Sri Lanka. Ashoka inscribed his edicts on rocks and pillars. These edicts taught compassion, justice, and non-violence. He restricted animal slaughter and promoted protection. Meeting foreign envoys, Ashoka shared the message of peace. Trees were planted along roads to give travelers shade. Monks educated the common people in ethics and wisdom. Ashoka was no longer a conqueror but a symbol of peace and Dharma. Ashoka completely transformed his life, often meditating with monks inside his palace. He began addressing his people with messages of peace, compassion, and justice. He ordered that his teachings be engraved on rocks and pillars across the empire. Travelers read the edicts along roads, learning the principles of Dharma. Ashoka established hospitals where monks cared for the sick. He ordered wells to be dug to provide clean water for the people. Roads were built to ease travel and improve trade. Hunting was restricted to protect forests and animals. Captured animals were released back into the forests. He introduced laws ensuring respect among all religions and communities. He listened to farmers and resolved their problems personally. Granaries were built to protect the people during famines. Foreign envoys visited his court, and Ashoka shared his message of peace. His son Mahinda taught Buddhism to the king of Sri Lanka. His daughter Sanghamitra presented a Bodhi tree sapling to the Sri Lankan queen. The message of Dharma spread across the Maurya Empire and beyond. He sat with villagers and children, teaching them morals and kindness. The Dharma chakra became Ashoka's symbol, representing eternal peace and justice. Ashoka declared in his court that Dharma would be the foundation of his empire. Monks departed with Ashoka's message, traveling to distant lands. He sent gifts to neighboring kings as symbols of peace. Caravans crossed deserts and mountains, spreading Ashoka's message. The light of Dharma reached Gandhara and Central Asia. Ashoka's pillars were erected in distant provinces of the empire. He promoted tolerance among Hindus, Buddhists, and Jains. He treated Jain and Hindu sages with deep respect. Education was encouraged so every child could learn. Ashoka established universities and monasteries. Rest houses were built for travelers across the empire. Medical care was introduced for both humans and animals. Veterinary clinics were set up to care for elephants and horses. Fruit trees were planted along roads for the benefit of travelers. Fair justice was ensured in courts throughout the empire. Corrupt officials were punished without mercy. Ashoka inspected markets himself to ensure fair prices. He made the protection and respect of women a priority. He encouraged harmony between the rich and the poor. The Dharma chakra became a symbol of unity and peace among his people. Fields flourished, and Ashoka shared joy with farmers. Foreign envoys arrived at his court bearing gifts. Under Ashoka, the Maurya Empire became one of history's largest realms. Trade flourished, and markets bustled with activity. Ships sailed from Indian ports, carrying goods abroad. All subjects were treated equally in Ashoka's rule. During famines, Ashoka personally distributed food to the poor. He often met scholars, discussing knowledge and philosophy. Artists and musicians thrived under his patronage. He encouraged architecture, commissioning grand stupas and monuments. The great stupa at Sanchi still stands as Ashoka's legacy. Stone carving flourished, producing intricate designs. Medicines were distributed in villages to improve public health. Animal reserves were created where hunting was banned. He prayed in monasteries alongside Buddhist monks. The youth were inspired with Dharma to become responsible citizens. King and subjects united like one family. Even in old age, Ashoka guided his ministers with wisdom. He reflected on his journey, from ruthless king to messenger of peace. Ashoka's true identity became Dharma, justice, and peace. In old age, Ashoka grew weak, meeting his people while seated on a simple chair. He gave alms to monks, showing humility in his final years. He visited monasteries and listened to Buddhist teachings. He looked at villagers from his balcony, reflecting on his life. Over time, his court grew quieter, with fewer ministers and nobles. Control over distant provinces weakened, and the empire showed cracks. Rebellions erupted in border regions, straining the empire's military. Ashoka received reports of unrest with deep sorrow. In old age, he spent nights meditating beside a burning candle. He distributed much of his wealth among the poor. On his deathbed, monks chanted around him. He weekly urged his family to uphold peace and justice. He closed his eyes peacefully, as if his soul found rest. Thousands mourned during Ashoka's funeral procession. His ashes were preserved, and monks paid their respects. His successors were weak and failed to maintain the empire. After Ashoka, the Maurya Empire began to shrink and weaken. Yet his message of Dharma spread to distant lands. Today, India's national emblem is Ashoka's lion capital.